Most people view beauty as something pleasing to the eye. They consider something valuable if it benefits them. What about those children who fail the test of beauty and value? What happens to them?
Being the child of parents who lived through an occupation of World War II and having looked at some of the things that would have occurred had Hitler won in terms of creating perfect people, I've come to really see firsthand how taking care of somebody who is ill and maybe not perfect, or it brings out the humanity in us.
And now I've known her for about 3 years, I think, and church has been a major part of her life, and it just makes her extra special, I think. And all of us know, anybody that knows Davisha knows that church is one of the biggest parts of her life and how much she loves God.
We have a variety of students with disabilities enrolled in our program. That would include students with autism, students with mental retardation, students with specific learning disabilities, students with multiple disabilities, which would include students who are blind and some partially sighted, and also some students that are deaf.
I've been taking care of Marissa for 21 years, and when I got her at a year old, she had a multitude of problems that I knew nothing about. Seizures being one. She had a submucous cleft palate, which is a hole in the roof of her mouth, which means everything that she ate would come through her nose. She has cerebral palsy, and she's incontinent and she doesn't speak.
It is estimated that approximately 7 million Americans today were born with various kinds of disabilities. How a society deals with the least of these reveals a great deal about that society. Unfortunately, disabled children are twice as likely to be abused as non-disabled children.
I think the most difficult thing in raising an autistic child is you realize that physically they look normal, and so they become very vulnerable because people can easily take advantage of them and can easily hurt them, and there are people in the world who would want to do so.
I believe individuals with disabilities can be contributing members of society. I think they have the ability to work. I think they have the ability to be taxpayers instead of tax receivers. I think they have the ability to be active, functioning members in our world and our environment today. We're fortunate to live in the country where we live in, because if you look at how other countries throughout the world have treated their disabled, you would realize that the United States for many years, and I think basically based on our Christian faith as a nation, we have realized that we have a responsibility to meet those needs. And I think the United States of America has done an outstanding job in addressing those needs.
I thank God for this wheelchair, you know, because without this wheelchair, I wouldn't be able to move around. So that's why I say, thank you God for what I have. You know, I enjoy myself even if I can't walk.
That they'll be able to take the public transportation and get to and from work. That they'll be able to interact with people. That they'll be able to go off to restaurants and stores and everything else and know how to integrate the skills that they have with that environment. We underestimate what our kids can do, and when we look at an individual with a disability, we judge them based on how they look, and therefore we form ideas and limits and capabilities on what we see. But so often those young men and women show us that they can do far more than we imagine they can do.
And I just want to give a shout out to those people who don't know God. You know, God gives you energy to wake up in the morning and just to give you strength and help you go through many things and to enjoy yourself, you know.
And one of the things that I see often, it doesn't matter how I look, how I smell, how my day's going like that. If I open up my arms like that, these students will actually come up to you and wrap their arms around you and give you a big old hug.
I don't think we should be afraid of those things, and I think as humans we take care of one another. That's part of what our soul is about.
Jonathan is very pure and innocent in his own ways. He has no sense of competition. He has no sense of materialism. He's very happy in being himself. He doesn't judge other people. There's no there's nobody who is below him in his mind.
She's such a lovable, happy kid, and she has a mind of her own, and man, she's just into everything. I've watched her grow and grow and grow, and she's a joy to have, and I just love taking care of her. I don't know what I'd do without her. She's my daughter.
And I would tell any parent that's dealing with a disability, and I realize it's a loss of dreams for many of them that their child has a disability, to realize that there is a purpose for that child.
There's a sense of responsibility that I have to be aware of where he is and what he's doing 24/7, and I realize that can't be done. But it also means that when I fail, as I will, in being wise and protective at all times, that God will be there to make up for what I lack.
Because God promises that He'll never give us anything we can't handle, and a child with a disability is something that can seem very difficult, and we think that we can't get through it, but with Christ's strength, we can make it through that.
One night she just started turning blue, and I didn't know why, so I rushed her to Olive View Hospital, and they told me that she had a seizure disorder. I had never taken care of anyone with seizures, so I was afraid to go to sleep at night because I never knew when she'd have one. But the Lord would wake me up at night and tell me to go to Marissa's room, and surely she would be shaking and having seizures.
I'm going to pray to God to make your baby perfect. And she told her friend, she said, stop, you will not pray for that because my baby is perfect in God's eyes. You will pray for me to have the grace to deal with this.
For thou, the Lord, did form my inward parts. Thou didst weave me in my mother's womb. I will give thanks to thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made.
It's just amazing, you know. I just love him with all my heart. He's really good.
We have a responsibility within the church to open the doors to the disabled. And I would tell you that we have not, I believe we have not done a good job at that. I think we're getting better at it. But we have a responsibility not only to meet the spiritual needs of those who have disabilities, but also their families. And because many of those people won't come to church because they do have a child with a disability.